Welcome to the Author's Edge radio show with Guy L. Freer. Now, their show airs nationwide on the My Genre Radio Network, Monday through Friday at 2 p.m. and 7 p.m. Each week on their show, they help authors create books that transform our lives and imaginations. Through radio excellence, they create a unique community resource, one that promotes, connects, and fosters a sense of well-being. Guy L. maintain a focus on sharing books, publishing, marketing, and writing solutions. They serve listeners by providing outlets for their creative skills and energies, and they help them flourish in the competitive marketplace. Their weekly show provides intros, writing spotlights, helps you in promoting your book, your writing, your publishing, your marketing tidbits, and much more.
Welcome to Author's Edge Show. Join us for lively conversations with writers, publishers, songwriters, illustrators, and artists, diving into the art of storytelling. Catch us live every Saturday at 8 a.m. and Sunday at 7 a.m. on KWRH FM 92.9 and KXOK FM 102.9, or stream online, at kxok.com, kwrh929.com, and via free apps, iHeartRadio, Odyssey, and TuneIn. The show also airs nationwide Monday to Friday at 2 p.m. and 7 p.m. on the My Genre Radio Network. Missed an episode? Find us anytime on SoundCloud, YouTube, or at authorsedge.org. Now that's authorsedge.org. And welcome back to the studio. It's so good to be here, and the sun is shining. Nice. It's a lovely day. I think spring is in the air. Our guest made it to the studio without too much. I even gave the right address, which I'm excited about. So it's wonderful to be back here. And today I am thrilled to be chatting with Dr. Michael Riley. Welcome to our show, Dr. Michael Riley.
Thank you.
And how are you doing today?
I'm doing great. Thanks.
You got here safe and sound?
Safe and sound.
I'm excited.
Appreciate it. Yeah, thank you. I am.
Before we dive in, let me share a little bit about Dr. Michael Riley's background. Dr. Michael Riley, MD, a native St. Louisian, graduated from St. Louis College of Pharmacy, attended medical school at the University of Missouri, Columbia, completed a family and community medicine residency at the University of Florida. Dr. Riley began his academic teaching career with the St. Louis Family Residency Program at Forest Park Hospital. He was the first physician, family medicine clerkship, and director at St. Louis University. He also served as the chief medical officer for the St. Louis County Health Department. Dr. Riley held the position of Associate Dean of Student and Multicultural Affairs at St. Louis University School of Medicine from 2010 to 2018. He currently works as a consultant and student advisor with the SLU School of Medicine, where he is a professor emeritus in the Department of Family and Community Medicine. On January 23rd, 2025, he received the Dr. Donald Brennan Humanitarian Award and President's Call to Service Award for Lifetime Achievement for the Urban League and St. Louis University. Dr. Riley has authored book chapters, magazine articles, and journal publications on topics such as obesity, drug-free stress management, and health disparities in the St. Louis area. His most recent publication is a book titled Living with a Ghost, Who We Are and Why We Do What We Do. So welcome, Dr. Michael Riley.
Thank you for having me. Good to be here.
And this book is not about ghosts, by the way, just so everybody knows.
That's important, right?
And that's important to say. It is not about ghosts. So, Dr. Riley, what first inspired you to pursue a career in medicine?
Well, I think it was the background of coming up in inner city St. Louis, going to clinics, and for me, a clinic means not having private physician, having mom prepare snacks and go wait all day to be seen at a community clinic. Mm-hmm. And that began to form within me a desire to say, I think I could do this better. because we would wait all day long, and then the doctors would be rough, quick and out the door. And I think that was the very beginning of me deciding that I want to do this, but I'd like to do it differently.
Right.
Yeah.
I remember going as a child.
Mhm.
My dad was a police officer,
Mhm.
and I remember the first HMOs. And I remember going in and being in line,
Mhm.
going in line and saying, who's next? And you had a number.
Oh,
And
awful.
yeah. And I remember that as a child,
Yeah.
with my dad, or actually it was with my mom, because
Mhm.
my dad was always working. But I do
Right.
remember that.
Yeah.
And saying to myself, gosh, this doesn't seem to be the way we should be doing this.
Yeah. Another thing is my mom didn't like her doctor. And I often recall hearing her say, I'm not going to do what that little man tells me to do. And I thought to myself, there's got to be a better way to have a relationship with a patient than referring to him as that little man that I'm not going to pay any attention to. So
What that little man
that was a
says.
part of my desire
Yeah.
as well, is people ought to like their doctors.
Yes, they
You
ought
know?
to.
Yeah.
Well, for my mom, it was, I don't like not seeing the same person all the
Mhm.
time.
Mm.
That she
Yeah.
because it was we were in a more suburban area,
Right.
and it was a different doctor every time. And my
Right.
mom didn't like that.
Right.
My mom
I
wanted
don't
to see
blame
the
her.
same doctor, because she grew up in a tiny town
Mhm.
in France, and she always saw the same doctor.
Mhm.
And
So
so
it
there was
should be.
there was a relationship there,
Right.
and we always saw a different doctor every time.
Mhm.
And she didn't like that.
That's
that
no
was, that
good.
was yeah.
Yeah.
Originally, you had started with pharmacy before transitioning to medicine. What led to that decision?
I will try to make that long story short, but basically what it boiled down
We
to.
have lots of time.
Yeah, okay.
Lots of time.
What it boiled down to was, again, coming up in an inner city St. Louis school. If a young African American fellow says, I want to be a doctor, everybody said, you can't do that. You're not going to be able to do that. It's just not going to work. And so after hearing so much negative, I think I kind of lost a little confidence, and I said, I love
Yeah.
chemistry. I love science. Maybe I should be a pharmacist first and
And
then
then-
become a physician. And oddly enough, it worked out really well. And it created a resume that was more attractive because I had already studied medicine
Right.
when it came time to apply to medical school. So it worked out for the best.
So having that chemistry background really helped a lot.
Yeah, it did. And pharmacy made it, a lot of times I didn't have to study the same things because I already knew about the medications.
Yeah.
So that
Yeah.
was very helpful.
Yeah. So you grew up in St. Louis.
Mhm.
Right. Tell me a little bit about that.
Oh, tough. As my man rolls back on being, I got assaulted a couple of times, along the way as a teen. I think the best way to describe it is by the time I was 13, I had decided that I was going to transfer myself to a different school system, a different school, because I was tired of fighting,
Mm-hmm.
having issues every day. Bullying was major. My parents had taught me how to walk to school a different direction so that I could avoid the groups of bullies that were along the way. And
Okay.
so I took my brother's address, who lived on the other side of town, and transferred myself to another school. And then, oddly enough, it ended up with us moving to the district that I had transferred myself to. So it all worked out
It
again.
all worked out.
Yeah,
It all worked
out
out.
again.
It all worked out.
So it was a challenging time, but as I have learned over the years, all of this was coming together to create a picture of my future
Uh-huh.
and what I believe I was supposed to be doing, which is where I ended up working as a physician and also wanting to give back to the system that had helped me get what I had wanted, which was to be a physician.
Now, how big is your family? I mean,
Oh, I was the youngest of 7 births. One died shortly after birth, but yeah, I was what they call the baby of the family. I used to hate that, but being a baby is not bad. I'm not going to complain about that. But yeah, I was the baby of the family. I was number 7.
number 7.
Mhm.
And you have sisters and brothers.
All of my brothers and sisters are now, except for one dear sister, Corrine Lane. She is still living and lives just a block away from where I am. So the two of us are toughing out these last years together, but all the others have passed.
Oh, okay.
Yeah.
All right. Okay. How did growing up in St. Louis shape your career path?
Well, once again, I think it showed me um, the way things were and gave me a hint of what I thought I could apply myself to change things.
Mm-hmm.
The educational system was not as good as some of the other school systems in the county were, and as a result, we were not as well prepared educationally to take on college as many of the other students were. And so I learned early on, coming from that background, that you were going to have to be able to postpone immediate gratification and really knuckle down when it came to the books, and that you were going to have to live what I now refer to as a life of intention. You have to decide where it is you think you want to go, and then do things that lead you in that
And plot
particular
it out.
direction. That's right.
Plot
it out. That's
Step by
exactly
step.
right. That's right.
Yeah.
And so, what seemed to be bad at first
Mhm.
turned out for the best
Mhm.
because it motivated me. And that's one of the things that I like doing now is try to motivate youth. At St. Louis U, eventually I became a associate dean of students, and I got a chance to do what was really fun, which is talk to young people and help
Yeah.
teach and coach them. That's a lot of fun.
Yes, it is.
Yeah.
It is. I've been spent 39 years as an educator.
Mhm.
I,
You know,
yes, I do. And I enjoyed doing that.
yeah.
I
When
really
you see that light turn on in their eyes,
Yep.
and you know that you said something to them that they got it, that's like hanging a medal on your chest.
Absolutely.
Yeah.
Absolutely. What drew you to family medicine instead of something more specialized?
Well, that was the reason. I thought erroneously, as many, I guess, of us do, that I was going to go out there and be Dr. Mike Raley, and I was just going to vaccinate everybody and save the world. And I thought it was just that
I
simple.
thought I was gonna, yeah.
I was going to go
yeah.
out there with all of my ideas, and people would just open up and say, "Oh, this is a good idea. Let's do that." And it didn't work that way.
Yeah.
But I did want to pick a specialty that enabled me to get to families, because what I learned early on was that if you want to mess a culture up, mess up the family. If you want to save a culture, save the family.
Right.
And so I picked family medicine despite the fact that it was a specialty that paid less. It was a specialty that didn't have as much, when you walk in the room and you say, "I'm a neurosurgeon," and you walk in the room and
prestige
say,
is
"I'm
not
a
there.
Yeah, that's right. The prestige is not there.
Absolutely.
So, but for me, I wanted to be able to talk to mama, daddy, the children,
Mhm.
everybody. And
The
and
family
so,
unit.
That's right, the family unit. So family medicine to me was the only way to go. Plus, at that time in my life, there was a series on television called Marcus Welby.
Oh, I love that
I
show.
love Marcus Welby, MD.
I used to watch that faithfully.
Yep, I watched all the doctor shows back then.
All the doctor
Yeah,
shows.
now I can't stand them.
Right.
But when I was
No,
younger,
now I watch all the cop shows.
that's what I like. I like the cop shows. Yeah, Law and Order.
Law and
stuff like
Order,
that. Yeah.
NCIS, all
Yes.
the FBI shows. Yes,
That's us.
yes, I
That's us.
understand.
But yeah, that was the way it was, and all the way back, probably way before your time, Dr. Kildare.
Oh no,
and,
I remember Dr. Kildare
Yeah, and Ben Casey.
and Ben
Oh
Casey.
boy,
Oh,
that
I
was
loved him too.
Yeah.
You have to understand, I just turned 70.
I wouldn't have believed it.
Okay. Yeah. Well, and I have a beautiful little ring here to show that my husband gave me for my 70th birthday.
Wow.
Yes. Okay. So I do remember Dr.
Remember some of
Kildare.
those, yeah.
I remember Ben Casey.
Yeah.
I
yeah.
remember all those early shows with the
Yeah.
doctors. Well, for me, they were gorgeous men.
Well, I didn't look at it like that. Thank God. No, but I mean, no, I saw it as
But
these were people.
They were saving the world.
Oh yeah,
They were saving the family,
and they were serious.
rescuing the poor soul
right.
that was in trouble from whatever medical tragedy that was going on.
That's right. It was not about money.
It was
not about
money.
prestige. It was about service.
It was about
And
exactly.
I love that.
I love that also. It was wonderful to watch.
Yeah.
You know, you knew that whatever it started out with the tragedy, and it went to a moment of enlightenment,
right?
And then the person was saved, and everybody went home happy.
That's right.
And I loved every moment.
That's
of
right.
It.
Yeah, it may not have been real, but it was sure fun to watch.
yeah. No, it wasn't real.
Yeah.
You only wished it was real,
right?
But
that's
it was
true.
wonderful to watch.
Yeah.
And I do remember those shows.
Yeah.
And I know that's what you were hoping to achieve.
Right. That's right.
And I think you probably did a lot of the time.
I hope so.
I think so.
I hope so.
I mean, you know, your heart was in the right place and your knowledge was there. So, and the dedication. And that's really,
right.
I think that's what most doctors would want to achieve.
Absolutely. And, you know, I often say to some of the young folks that I deal with that how many people get to say when they were a child, I want to be this or that when I grow up and actually get it. Mm-hmm. So, you know, I was one of those kids with the candy, the candy medicine and the stethoscopes and the chemistry sets. That was me all the way through. And so I thank God for that I was able to be given a chance. And I think that is what motivates me now to want to give back. And because I certainly was allowed a chance to have a good life. Yeah.
And I'm sure your parents were very supportive in that venture.
They were, although I do remember one time my mom said, you need to quit going to school and get a job. But you know, after I finished pharmacy school and I told them I'm not through yet, and she said, boy, you need to get a job. It's time to stop. And but yeah,
it's coming, Mama.
It's coming eventually.
It will eventually come, Mama.
Yeah, but she was.
You can only get. I mean, the highest degree is doctor. So once that's achieved, there's no more school to go to.
Yeah. And these doctors that come out now pick up business degrees and master's degrees as they go.
Yeah,
it's amazing. So they've.
And they have to pick up the business degrees because part of medicine is business.
That's right.
Especially today.
Absolutely. Yeah.
So, you know, they don't have much choice. So you also did your residency in Florida.
Mm-hmm.
How did that shape your patient care?
It was fabulous. First of all, I did it on a lark, not knowing that there was any way that I would get accepted at Florida because everybody wanted to go to California and Florida. And but long story short, I met a guy who became a tennis buddy. And he said, I'm going to the University of Florida. He was from Cleveland. And our families, my wife and I at that time, and he and his wife became close friends. And so I listed University of Florida because he was going. And I said, if I get that, then I got my buddy and we got a couple that we can fellowship with. And lo and behold, I was able to get it. And then the nice thing about it was that it exposed me to an entire different segment of the country. Yes. I went from St. Louis, which I later discovered was a kind of a closed, sort of a shut down sort of a place. And I met so many people from the South.
Yep.
They were fabulous. And many of those are friends to this day.
Yeah.
That I met going to Florida. So Florida opened me up to a whole new world.
Yeah.
Whole new world.
Yeah.
So Michael, how long did you live in Gainesville?
I was there for the 3 years of
what years were they?
Okay, that was 79, 78, 77, because I came out in 76. So 77 through 79. Were you there then?
No,
I was in Key West at that time.
Oh yeah. You're making me think of key lime pie. So that's the first thing I thought of whenever you say key. I think of key lime pie.
Yep. And I make a wicked key lime pie, by the way.
Do?
Yes, because I met him in 1986 in Key West. That's where we met.
Yeah.
Quick. You are listening to Author's Edge, chatting with Dr. Michael Riley about his book, of Living with a Ghost, coming to you live weekly on Saturdays at 8 a.m. and Sunday at 7 a.m. on KWRH 929.com, KXOK 102.com. Okay, so you then pivoted from being a doctor to an academic.
Pardon me?
You pivoted from being a doctor to the academics.
Yeah. First I worked hard for a while, just seeing
Just being-
patients. Yeah.
Well, yeah.
Yeah, and then some odd things that happened, and I got a phone call in my office. At the time, I was in private practice,
Mhm.
and a guy said, "Have you ever thought about teaching?" And I said, quite honestly, no. I never even occurred to me. And he said, you ought to consider it. And that was how the door to St. Louis U opened up. I was invited to do some teaching,
Uh-huh.
and I enjoyed it. It was a lot of fun, and the students and residents seemed to like it. And then that opened the door to St. Louis U, which eventually led to me shutting my practice down. I was in private practice 7 or 8 years.
Uh-huh.
And then after that, I moved on to academics at St. Louis U and stayed there for the rest of the time to retirement, until now even.
And looking back at your time at SLU, what do you think you were most proud, the accomplishments that you were most proud of?
No doubt about it, the students.
Students?
Yeah, talking to and encouraging the young people, hearing them and their dreams, and then being able to encourage them to go after those dreams was something that I love seeing patients, but there was nothing like dealing with the young doctors. One of my favorite times was a student crossed the stage, and we do the hooding, after when they graduate. And I slipped the hood on over this student that had come from Buffalo, New York. And he whispered in my ear as he passed, "I couldn't have made it without you." And boy, my heart just
Yeah.
that was
Yeah.
that was worth it. Yeah.
I taught alternative education
Mhm.
for about 5 years. I taught 3 years and then went back to the classroom, and then I went to alternative ed again.
Mhm.
And whenever I see those alternative ed kids, because those are the kids that people say, never going to make it, never going to make it, never going
Right.
to make it. But when I see those kids cross that stage with those diplomas,
Yeah.
it brings tears to my eyes.
Yeah.
Even talking about it brings tears to my
it's
eyes.
hard not to,
because
hard
it's-
not to cry.
Yeah, it is, because those are the kids that you are rooting for
Mhm.
from the get-go.
Right.
The ones that everybody says just there's no hope for.
That's right.
And
That's right.
there is, because every child can learn.
Right. That's true.
And-
And some of the kids are so doggone bright.
They are.
That honestly, you could hand them a stack of books and say, "Come back in 4 years," and they'd pass the test and they'd be MDs. Well, those aren't a lot of fun. Because they've been given everything.
okay.
Yeah, they're not a lot of fun.
I taught honors English for
Mhm.
years. They will learn no matter what.
Right.
Okay? They will learn in spite of you. All right? No matter what. They're
Right.
not the ones that need you. The ones that need you as a person
Right.
are your alternative ed
That's
kids.
right. Yeah.
And they give you the most joy. They
Yeah.
really, really do.
Yeah. There's
So-
no doubt about it.
Yeah. Real quick, what major changes? Well, that's not a real quick question, but what major changes did you implement to improve medical education? Give me one, and then we'll continue after the break.
Right. Okay. One, I think, was to try to emphasize that different people learn different ways, and that our job as instructors and leaders should be to help find the best way to teach student A versus student B.
Mhm.
And in doing that, sometimes you have to go with and through their culture,
Yes.
because that's how you reach them. And so I would say that is probably the most important thing that I've always tried to stand up for, is meet the student where they are, and then you can lead them to where
Mhm.
you want them to be.
Mm-hmm. All right. Before we go to break, I want to say, are you an author, publisher, editor, illustrator, songwriter, or artist looking to expand your reach? Advertise on Author's Edge to connect with passionate readers and industry insiders. With engaging interviews, reviews, and discussions, your book will shine. Why choose us? Reach thousands of book lovers, boost sales and visibility, target impactful ads, trusted host endorsements. Elevate your presence with Author's Edge. Contact us today at 573-714-1352, where authors and readers meet. And now we are going to go to our station break. Bada boom, bada bang.
El Potro Restaurant and Market, located at 6920 Manchester Avenue, 1 block east of McCausland, offers the finest variety of Mexican and Central American groceries and goods. El Potro Restaurant serves authentic Mexican and Central American cuisine, including daily specials, not to mention the best horchata and tastiest margaritas in St. Louis. Open 7 days a week. El Potro, 6920 Manchester Avenue, 1 block east of McCausland.
Jewels on Hampton in St. Louis Hills is paying some of the highest prices on gold, silver, diamonds, semi-precious colored stones, coins, flatware, and fine watches on site. Jewels on Hampton is a premier jeweler featuring Alvanza's jewel art designs with an exquisite selection of diamonds, semi-precious stone jewelry, and vintage watches. Their expert design team can restyle your jewelry to today's contemporary style. They also do jewelry and watch repair. Need extra cash? Jewels on Hampton is paying some of the highest prices on gold, silver, diamonds, semi-precious colored stones, coins, flatware, and fine watches. Bring in your collectibles and clocks, sports memorabilia, and figurines too. Jewels on Hampton, 4506 Hampton, just 3 blocks south of Chippewa. Call them at 314-752-5000. 314-752-5000. Jewels on Hampton.
Hi, this is Veronica with Simply Rooted Financial. I wanted to invite you to an upcoming luncheon on March 15th at noon. The Empower and Elevate Luncheon is going to be a powerful event for women who want to take control of their financial future. Whether you're a businesswoman or someone who serves others, this luncheon will educate and empower you. Here, you will gain valuable insight into paying less taxes at retirement, building your work optional nest egg, and creating a financial freedom you can count on. Here, you will be empowered to become confident and clear about your financial goals. Don't miss out. To register, find me on Facebook at Simply Rooted Financial to secure your seat. Again, that's Simply Rooted Financial on Facebook, or you can visit luncheon.simplyrootedfinancial.net. Again, luncheon.simplyrootedfinancial.net to complete your registration and secure your seat. We'll see you there.
Hey.
Yeah.
All right, I'm going to do a radio announcer, then we're going to get to questions. Oh, we're back. Oh, and I'm blabbering away, and we're back.
That's okay.
You are listening to Author's Edge, coming to you live weekly on Saturdays at 8 a.m. and Sunday at 7 a.m. on KWRH929.com and KXOK102.com. And today we are chatting with Dr. Michael Riley about his book, Living with a Ghost, who we are and why we do what we do. Now, I'd like to talk a little bit about your book.
Okay.
We've been talking about your background and who you are and what you've been doing, but let's talk about your book a little bit. So tell me, how did you get to write this book?
Well, what happened was I began to notice in the office as the years unfolded, almost everybody had personal, psychological, even mental illness issues, problems, things that had come from their past, their family, things that had happened to them that were traumatic. And this was bundled with the diseases. So it was diabetes and depression, or hypertension and heart disease and anxiety. And it was so common. I wanted to dig into it more. So that's what led me into kind of journaling what my patients were dealing with, and eventually led to me wanting to write a book. Strangely enough, when I started, I was going to call the book Body by God, because in St. Louis, we had a automotive factory called Fisher Body. And they put a stamp on the car called Body by Fisher after you finished the car before you sent it out. And I said, people need to know how magnificent the human body is. So, but as I progressed, I realized this has gone beyond just recognition of the body. It's how the mind and the body and the
Work
disease
together.
all interact. And that's what led me to the beginnings of trying to figure out how can people deal with these past issues that wash up into their adulthood that were really sourced from the past.
You said that spirituality is a vital guide, is
Right.
vital in guiding us.
Right.
How do you see this reflected in your health outcomes?
Well, what happens is I think a lot of health outcomes are affected by, number one, your confidence in yourself, that you can heal. Affected, number two, by the belief that you don't have this illness because of something wrong that you did and you're being punished. In other words, you didn't get cancer because you were a bad person in 1978 and God is getting you. No. And so spirituality serves almost like a rudder.
Yeah,
for
God
a
doesn't
boat.
punish you.
Yes, that's right.
That's
That's
not
coming from a different source.
Yeah.
And so I think that rudder of spirituality is a guidance for people, no matter what it is, be it disease, if it's personal problem, depression, no matter what it is. So that's when I began to realize, why is it we don't do like the old medicine men of Native America, and the doctor is also the spiritual person. And we've kind of gotten away from that. We separate the spirituality from the medicine. And I believe they still work very
Together?
well together. And as a result of my own experiences, I got a chance to see. There's no doubt about it.
Can you tell me about that?
Yeah, about I can't remember the exact year, which is not important, but I detached the retina seems to me like how it all started.
A detached retina?
A detached retina. Suddenly, while down at the arch, just sitting there on the bench, and everything went gray. And this is in the book. And I talked myself, even as a doctor, into believing, oh, you're just tired. if you rest, your vision will come back. And then
Right.
finally, I said to myself, "Come on, doc. When
You know
people lose
better.
their vision suddenly, what is it? It's an emergency, And eventually, I discovered that within the next 24, 48 hours, I detached the retina, then glaucoma, and then eventually the vision began to go downhill. And
Can anything fix it? I mean, can you?
not really. The doctors have all told me that I should not expect to get better, although you never know if some miraculous thing is discovered, but that I should focus on not getting worse by taking the medications and caring for my eyes. And at the same time, I began to go deaf. And so I got the combination of loss of vision, deafness, and then I was bicycling up the hill to Art Hill in Forest Park, and I began to notice that me and the rest of the guys that I rode bicycles with, I used to be in the front. I was always the guy that wanted to lead the pack, and I found myself in the back. Long story short, it was my heart, and so I discovered that I had inherited from my father, who suddenly dropped dead. Two brothers also found heart disease with almost all the men in the family, and they ended up having to have a quintuple bypass.
Oh my gosh.
6 hours of open heart surgery.
Oh my gosh.
And so after that, now suddenly I've got the bad heart, blind and deaf, and I was ready to throw the towel in.
So what changed?
What changed was my spirituality enhanced as I began to ask God, why? Why me? Why did this happen? And as I sought for answers, I realized that God had a different plan for me than the plan that I had for myself.
Okay.
I wanted to keep fishing and playing tennis and riding bicycles. And God wanted me to understand that there's some things I want you to do, that I want you to have experienced a certain type of suffering, if you will, that you can express to other people, that it might help them. And I can't do that if you haven't done this. So I'm allowing this for you, not because you've done anything wrong, but because I want you to be equipped to help other people that may have cancer or heart disease or go blind or deaf. And it took me a long time to accept that.
So do you think your faith is going to help you?
Oh, there's no doubt about it. If I had not had the vision, the deafness, the heart disease, I would not have advanced in my spirituality because I was doing like so many people have done. Their spirituality was like second fiddle. It was something that we just did on Sunday or Wednesday night. But once you incorporate it and realize that you need it, in addition to wanting it, you actually need it, then I began to get serious about it. And that's when I said, you've got to let people know that you can help yourself in every aspect of your life if you can combine your spirituality with your situations in life.
Have you seen other people use that same?
Definitely.
And have you seen an
Definitely, yeah.
improvement?
Yeah. And oh yeah. And sometimes there's not improvement, there's acceptance and a rejection of misery. That's the most important thing. In other words, you're not the victim anymore. Many times people think that if something happens to me, I've been victimized. Why me? Why did that happen to me? Well, why not you? Everybody has things happen to them. Are you going to still fulfill your dreams and wishes? And what I discovered was you may be, pecking with the typewriter now because you have to put your face down on it, and you have to have a reader to read print, but you can still do this. Well, and I began to remind myself that Beethoven did his Ode to Joy totally deaf.
That's true.
Yeah, and Helen Keller, graduated from a major school, I think it was Harvard, totally blind. So I began to realize that God will enable you to do what He wants you to be able to do, and you got to be willing to stand up to it. And that's when I began to because I was ready to give it up. And one of my colleagues came to me. I said, I can't talk to these students anymore. And he said, why? And I said, because I'm going blind and I'm deaf. And, he said, they will appreciate you being vulnerable and still wanting to help them. And he was right.
Do you think what challenges when you're discussing this spirituality,
Mm-hmm.
what challenges do you have with patients with diverse backgrounds? Do you have when you're trying to make that connection?
Oh, what I do is, and that's a good question especially because I'll give a quick story. It tells it better. A Buddhist Vietnamese doctor candidate came to me with worry, and she wanted counseling. I'm so afraid I won't get the residency that I want. I'm so afraid I'm not going to go where I want to go. And I said, what was your upbringing? What's your spirituality? She said, I'm Buddhist. And I said, well, what does Buddha say about worry? She said, I don't know. And I said, well, I'd like you to do something for me and for yourself. You say you are Buddhist. Study what you say you are. I guarantee you Buddha has something to say about worry. So my thing was not that you have to be exactly like me. You use what it is that you have, but you must believe in it.
Uh-huh.
And then you follow that. Because if I try to convert everybody to that's not going to work.
No.
And so the spirituality is not necessarily always Christianity. For me, it was Christianity. But for someone else, it may be Buddhism.
How do you address an atheist?
Pardon me?
How do you address an atheist?
Oh, that's another tough one. First of all, very, very difficult. that happened because in my effort to promote spirituality, I began to run into this at the university where people said, I don't believe in that. And we do what we have come to call workarounds. And sometimes there's a person in a powerful position that is just not going to accept what you have to offer, in which case you get reassignment to what you can have better success with. And so for me, I came to learn that God is going to lead me to where God wants me to go. And with his help, I will see a door open. But if I try to go up against doors that don't want to be opened, then I'm just wasting my time and trying to force myself
Right.
upon someone else. So when that happens, I initially attempt, hey, let's go to lunch together. Let's have a coffee together and try to feel it out. But if they don't want to be bothered, I'm not going to, that's above my pay grade.
I
Yeah.
yeah. How can people struggling with a faith use it as a source of strength in difficult times?
Could you repeat that again?
How can people struggling with faith
Ah,
use it as a source?
yeah. I think the first thing is, which I talk about a lot in the book, is recognition. It's really hard to look in the mirror and accept what you see as stubborn or resistant, or I just don't want to go there, or that's not me.
Mm-hmm.
But you cannot change if you're not recognizing the need to change. So the first thing I try to encourage people to do is be willing to look at the mirror and call it out. You have to say to yourself, I really have not wanted to listen to any other way of approaching the problem I have. But if I don't do something different to solve the problem that I'm facing, how can I ever solve it? That's that same old adage about people who expect a different outcome doing the same thing is crazy. You got to do something different.
Right. If you could change one thing in modern healthcare, what would it be?
Ooh, I think I would change the way we recruit physicians.
Really?
Yeah, because we so far have recruited physicians predominantly on intelligence, IQ related
Yeah.
skill sets.
And
Now, that
bedside
is-
maners has gone to the wayside.
That's right.
Oh, my good Lord.
That's a good thing to have, to be smart.
Oh, yeah.
It's a
You
good
have to be
thing
smart.
smart. But if you don't have it in your heart,
No. Yeah.
I have a colleague, which I won't say their name, but they, in these modern times, talked to a patient and said, "Oh, I'm going to see Dr. XYZ."
So-and-so.
And she said, "I'm number 65. I said, "What? What do you mean you're number 65? And they said, "This person, when you go, you get a number, then you can go leave and you can check back at the desk period." I said, "First of all, no doctor should be seeing 65 people
In a day.
in a day. You're not paying attention to anybody if you're seeing 65 people."
Oh, for crying out loud.
Right. That's ridiculous. So
That goes back to your
that same thing.
HMOs
That's right.
where you're standing in line.
Right. You stand in line.
Then that's not care.
And that's
That's not
really,
care.
that is not care. So what I believe we need to do is to find ways to look at an individual and see if they have what it takes to want to give to humanity. I long for the day that we look for people that are successful in socialization.
Dr.
And-
Kildare.
Yeah, back to
we
that
have
again.
Ben Casey, that we have those doctors that are willing to sit there and listen to you.
Right. That's right.
That are going to listen.
That's right.
And
That's an
that's
important
what-
skill.
And the thing is I understand our population is growing and we have more people than we have doctors.
Mhm.
And I
Yeah.
understand that. So then we have LPNs and they're doing good, but it doesn't replace the doctor.
Nope. Not the same.
It's not the same.
Not the same.
And that becomes worrisome for me.
And I do
And our
believe you can get
population
both.
is getting older.
Yeah.
And I will say this though, my husband has a doctor that I really like. And one of the things that I really don't like. Okay. I have an elderly mom. She's in her 90s. And whenever I would take her to go see her doctor,
Mhm.
one of the things that always irritates me, two things. One, they don't talk to her.
Mhm.
They talk to me. They talk to my brother.
Yeah.
Okay. And I'm like, first off, she is sitting right there.
Right here.
She's an intelligent woman. She is a doctor herself.
Talk to her.
Talk to her. Okay. That's number one.
Yeah.
And number two, don't talk down to her. just because she's an old woman, she's not stupid.
Mhm.
Okay.
I hate that.
And don't say, well, you're getting older, so yeah, this isn't going to work and that's not going to work, so you're getting older. I'm like, what is it? She's got one foot on the banana peel and the other one in the grave and she's going in. What is that? So I get irritated, so then of
Yeah.
course I have to leave, because otherwise I'm going to say something stupid.
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah.
So my brother looks at me, he keeps saying to me, don't say anything, don't say anything, don't say anything. So yeah. But my husband's doctor, on the other hand, okay, is really wonderful, because he talks to him and he doesn't look at me. He looks at him. He
Right.
speaks to him. But the other thing he says is, he says to my husband, he goes, you know what? You're in your bonus years. He doesn't say you're old and
Mhm.
you're dying, you're old. He
Right.
calls them, these are your bonus years. Let's use them to the best that you can.
Right.
And I'm like, well, that is really cool.
Yeah.
Instead of making you feel like you're going to croak any minute, he says, these are good years. Let's use them.
That's right.
These are bonus years.
That's right.
Let's take that. And there's that attitude that's missing
Yeah.
in a lot of doctors.
We need a revolution
especially-
in how we
es-
train doctors.
Yes, especially with our older folks. And now that I'm getting to that age, I'm just waiting for some doctor to say to me, well, dear, you're getting older now. Because I know I'm going to slap them upside the head. I just know it. I just know it.
Have the police near
Yes.
to stop you from finishing them off.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Because I'm just not going to tolerate
Yeah.
being looked down at.
Yeah.
And then, of course, there's also the whole aspect of women's health care,
Mhm.
which
Oh,
we all
yeah.
know that.
Yeah.
But that's a whole different subject.
Wow.
I do want to ask you, we have lots of time. So there were a few questions that I kind of skipped over
Mhm.
from the very beginning that I wanted to ask you. Like,
Mhm.
what advice would you give students that are just starting out?
Well, usually I try to make sure that, first of all, they have a passion. And I try to ask them, what is the one thing that you could sit up all night and talk about with your friends and never get tired? Because
Yes.
for me, it was the family, the importance of the family, the importance of mothers and fathers and the relationships that go on in the family is what sets the tone for the direction that person's going to take. So is medicine your passion? Is medicine something you can talk about all night? If so, then make up your mind. And then I try to tell them, think big. Remember, I'm working on a paper right now that I want to write about being a doctor. And what I'm wanting them to see is that this is such an outstanding opportunity for you to meet people and get to know people and grow, that you can do far more than just patient care. People that are physicians get a chance to train usually 2 or 3 different areas of the country. And if you plan it right, you might go to school in St. Louis and do your residency in North Carolina and end up on the faculty in California.
It's the world.
That's right. It's a whole world for you out there. But don't think of it just as bumps and bruises and seeing patients.
Yes.
And so try to get them to think big and also use all that God has given you. And I'm not saying this to brag, but I have an art side to me that demands, I love to play music.
Tell
you
me.
know, oh yeah, well, I play saxophone. I'm not very good at it, but I play it and I enjoy
doesn't
it.
matter whether
Yeah,
you're
and-
good or not, you play.
Yeah, and when I was younger, I loved art, and I still love art and dance. I've taken tap. Yeah, so when
And basketball and
I love all of
tennis?
it. I love all of it.
wow.
And I think that when this life, you leave it on the field. You come here and you do all that you can do to enjoy this life. You're only going to do it once,
That's right.
and then you go
I
on
had
to
a-
your eternity.
I have my husband and I have a friend who said life is not a dress rehearsal.
This is it.
This is it.
You're
only
on
get
stage.
One, you only
Yeah.
get one shot at this.
Yeah,
And if
yeah.
you don't take advantage of it now, you ain't going to get it.
That's right. That's right.
You are not going to get it.
Yeah.
Mentorship and advising are key aspects of your career. Why are they so important?
That goes back to the same thing of giving back.
Mhm.
I want the students to take advantage of the things that the Lord allowed to happen to me, not because of any particular focus on me being special, but he wanted me to have an experience that would be able to merge with the different people that I was meeting. So you can't do that unless you allow a person to have a wide scope of experiences, good and bad. So I try to get them to understand that, as it says, in this life, you will have tribulations. It didn't say you might have tribulations. You will have tribulations. You are going to have problems.
Yes.
And I tell the students, I was talking with a group of them just a week ago, and I said, at some point in time, you're going to hit a place where your brains, your beauty, your handsomeness, your athleticism, it's not going to help you one bit. You're going to need a higher power to get you through what you're dealing with. It's coming.
Yes,
Sooner
it is.
or later, it's
coming.
coming. Yeah.
How do you help students navigate the intense pressures of medical school?
Yeah. Well, one thing that is good about medical schools lately is we're trying to do more wellness things. And so we do try to encourage the students to have wellness activities like massages and exercising. And at one point in time at St. Louis U, we actually had some people come in before tests, the day before tests, to do head and neck massages, trying to relax the students. I don't know if we're still doing that, but the schools are getting better about understanding that mental health is going to lead to total health.
Yes.
And if without the mental health, it didn't matter how good the other parts are working if you're not thinking right.
Yeah. Diversity is an important issue in medicine. How do you believe in strengthening that medical education?
Yeah, that's a tough problem we're dealing with right now. That's the department that I work with primarily. And we were told as a result of
recent issues.
Oh yeah, let me leave it at that. Recent issues that we had to change our name and change some of our functions.
You had to change your name?
Yeah, we had to change some things because the current administration looks for keywords.
Right, I know.
And if you call yourself those words, it's an automatic
ding.
Yes, yeah. And I mean, it's just the truth of it. This is what's happening to every school that wants to get dollars for research. If they ding you on you using these words in where they think is the wrong place, they can pull your federal support.
Yeah.
So it's tough.
Oh yeah. I'm not going to say a word. I'm not going to say a word. Okay. Looking back over your career, what advice would you give your younger self when you first started medicine?
Wow. I would tell my younger self to get over fear of failure.
Oh.
And one of the things I talk about in the book is this phenomenon called ACEs. I don't know if you've heard of that.
Yes, I have.
Adverse childhood events. And I have a segment on that in the book. But when I was a kid, I lost a lot of confidence dealing with the bullying and other factors which can kind of steal your confidence. People telling you can't be a doctor because you're a Black child, and so on and so forth. And so my advice would be, you've got to develop a fearlessness about going forward in life and trying things. How do you know what you can do or what you can't do if you're not willing to try? And most people that are somewhat successful say the road to success is paved with failures. It's true. You mess up a lot of things before you get to be where you are, and you can't waste time thinking about it.
No,
you gotta move on.
You have to be participant.
And so that's one of the things that I try to get hopefully the readers to understand, is that you look into your background, and if you saw something, which is what I saw, was a lack of self-esteem, a loss of confidence, being a kid that had bad eyes and big thick glasses, you didn't have confidence about the way you looked, and so that that does affect you.
Oh yeah.
But you can go to your young self and fix that now. But you have to recognize that it was a problem. You can't sweep it under the rug.
No.
And so I don't want to think about that anymore. That was the end. This is now. That's not going to give you the confidence and the fearlessness that you need.
Right. What legacy do you hope to leave behind for the future generations of physicians and healthcare leaders?
Well, I hope that I have been a model as a physician of an individual that was willing to give of himself and leave behind a legacy of service more than self, progress,
Right.
money, power, all these other things. Those are nice things if it happens to be that way. But what we should be living for is serving. This is off topic, but I'm often amazed. When I was a kid, I also wanted to be an All-American football player, a physicist, the first family doctor on the moon, and I had all these things that I wanted to do. And
First, I like the first family doctor on the moon.
yeah, on the
I love
moon.
that.
I don't know
I
how I
love
got
it.
to that, but I guess what I'm trying to say is that same thing. You've got to be willing to think big. You got to be willing to go for it, and you got to be willing to look at yourself and do what you need to do to get you to where you want to be. Sometimes you make it, sometimes you won't. And I think the point I was making was that I'm amazed at people that want to go into outer space. And I think, what are you going to do when you get there? You are mistreating the people on planet Earth. You hate one another. You don't want to share.
Yeah.
And you want to go to outer space and do that on another planet? Why? So
Yes. Why?
Yeah.
That's a
It
good question.
yeah, it doesn't make
Why?
any sense. And so I was, that ended this. Once I realized that, I didn't want to be a spaceman anymore.
So what's next for you?
Well, for me,
Real quick, because we're
Yeah.
getting down to it.
okay. Basically, I'm waiting for my next assignments.
Yeah.
My current assignment, I believe from God, is to do the best I can to help people benefit
Mhm.
from the life that I have been blessed to have, which is spewed throughout this book, and that they would realize the value of spirituality. So this is what I do now. I still advise, and then I'll wait for God to tell me when to shut up and and sit down. Otherwise, I'll just keep going because I keep threatening retirement, and every time I threaten retirement, something happens that makes me say, it's not
I
over
hear
yet.
you. I
Yeah.
hear you.
"Yeah, it's not over
I
yet."
hear you. Thank you so much, Dr. Michael Riley, for
Thank
being
you
on
for
Author's
having me.
Age.
I enjoyed it.
Tune in again next week for more tips, resources, and your
Welcome.
favorite conversations. Our next guest will be Jeff Bender, and we will be chatting with him about his apparel company, Lion and Owl. Till then, see you around the inkwell.